Well, yeah, pardon me, today I'm all hungover and puffy-faced. This is my unscripted attempt to talk about ADD because, well, for years uh, I, w- I was on all kinds of ADD forums, and ever since discovering ADD, which happened when I was in the library at a fancy school where I actually met lots of kids for the first time who were on medication for ADD. I never came across that at the poorer schools that I grew up in, but my senior year in high school, I went to this fancy school where like all these kids were on meds, and I'd never seen that before, and I'd never even heard of ADD, and um, uh, somewhere along the line, I think while I was hiding out in the library looking through some books, I discovered information about ADD. I found this old medical textbook where it was called mild brain dysfunction or something like that, and then it said now more commonly known as attention deficit disorder. And so I looked up attention deficit disorder, and then I found all of these amazing books that talked about these things that I had struggled with my entire life. And so I got hooked on the whole ADD thing, even though I didn't really get diagnosed or treated for it until I was in my late 20s or early 30s. I forget what had happened when I was 29. Anyway, things that I had, ways that I am because of this ADD thing. Well, for one thing, I'd like to say that people like to say that it does not exist and that it was invented by the pharmaceutical companies as a way of doping up kids to, keep them in their place. But I think that there's more to it than that. There's all kinds of troubles that come along with having ADD. I read an article someplace that said that people with ADD, they suffer the most in their jobs, or that they have a lot more like income loss as a result of the disorder, and they really suffer from it. And well, I would have to agree. I mean, it's hard to get a job for one thing, and when I get a job, it's like no matter how hard I try to do good at the job, it's difficult to stay on task, and eventually I end up something happens along the line where I just end up screwing up, and then the whole going to this place and staying there for hours and hours and hours every day, and those hours just drag on. When you have this mind that is just like bing, 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 it's hard. You need to find a job, one where time passes very quickly, where there's not too much room for you to get reprimanded, where you're able to do things your own way, because you're going to find ways to do things your own way, and it's better that you're doing it and it's not against the rules. And it's like, I don't mean to zone out, I don't mean to just go off on tangents. It just happens and I can't control it. And I'm currently not on meds. I took Adderall for a while. I was on 30 milligrams of Adderall XR, and while it helped, it also hurt. It kind of broke down my defenses. Or I don't know. I became very overwhelmed, and it became very angry at all the chaos around me that I had no control over. Once I had this sense of order, all of a sudden imposed upon me, where I felt like I could regiment myself, all of the perpetual chaos just really got to me. I did make some interesting sock monkeys when I was on Adderall, and sometimes I crave to be able to have something that would allow me to do the housework. But all in all, I think I'm better not on meds. And because it just breaks you down. It just wears you out. I mean, it's an amphetamine. It just will wear you out. Um, uh, I take other things. I take fish. I take tons of fish oil. If I don't take fish oil, or I take a multi-omega supplement. If I don't take that, then everything just goes to hell with me. My memory gets really potty or spotty, and my my moods. I will easily slip into depression, and then I'm wondering, why am I so depressed? Why can't I string a whole sentence together? And it's like, oh yeah, I got out of the routine of taking my omegas. Well, I was on ADD forums for years. And then I got kidnapped by the Aspies, I always say, because I have a lot of stuff in common with that too. But I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the ADD. And as you can probably tell by this video, I'm kind of stream of conscience going in all directions. Like I said, I'm not scripted. I'm just rambling away about ADD and the ways in which it affected me. But the thing is that there's a blurry line between what about the Asperger's and what about the ADD, and it's like I hate using these labels, because there's really no telling. I remember in school I could never really understand what the teacher was saying. Everybody seemed to be on track. I was completely just in a daze. I just was out the window. I was like the cartoon about the little boy who would imagine himself battling sharks and stuff like that. He's in class. He's just this tortured soul in his classroom, with these imaginary battles happening with the numbers. Instead of calculating the numbers, you're fighting them. I always liked that character. I was a lot like that. I could never understand what the teacher was trying to get me to do. I once got in trouble passing notes in classroom because I was passing a note to the teacher, asking the teacher, because I couldn't understand the assignment. I just couldn't understand what was going on, and so I passed a note to the teacher to please asking her to please tell me what was going on, because I was totally on the wrong page, and I got in trouble for passing notes, even though it was just the teacher. Just silly stuff like that. It's very hard for a kid. And, I wasn't really hyperactive. In fact, I was the opposite for the most part. When I was a kid, I was very slow and very off in dreamland. And then when I became a teenager, something happened, and that's when I became the hyperactive ADDer. So it was very strange. I was non-hyperactive as a smaller child, and then I hit puberty, and I was just bouncing off the walls and trying to I had all this confidence that came with the hyperactivity, and so I was better at attempting to assimilate, all the while having no idea. It would vaguely dawn on me once in a while that I was just making a complete ass of myself. But I was having so much fun doing it, and I didn't know anything about tact. I had to learn that from my older friends down the line. Anyway, I rambled on long enough. Hopefully one can discern by the rambly, non-jointed nature of my discussion here that, I have things in common with the ADD. And ADD does exist. Yeah. Cheers.